Hello guys and welcome to Jerusalem. Come and join me for a landscape photo. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. Here I am in Jerusalem in Israel. This is the first time I'm here and I want to make a little tutorial on how to make panos and how to make them very sharp. That's a question I get often, is how come do you get so sharp photos? So the first thing to have a sharp photo is to have a good steady tripod. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you take the photo, you put the 2-second timer on so that you don't touch the camera when you take the photo. And the third thing is you make sure that you focus on what you're looking for. I usually go between f-stop to 7 to 11, about that's my range. And I always shoot manual. I try to find a setting, which I found now. I try to find a setting of a photo that I like, which is dark enough. You know how I like to have my photo dark, so I don't have blown out lights from the city. Once I have something, for example, this photo for me is a bit too dark, so I'm gonna change the speed, put it around 3.2. So I'm at 7.1 and 3 seconds of exposure, and I'm gonna take. This is a beautiful view of Jerusalem. I'm going to take several shots and then I'm going to stitch them in Photoshop and maybe do some tricks with it. So that's my first photo. Then I'm just going to move to my next photo. I don't use a nodal system for the ball head. I don't do that. I just move it like this. And I take this beautiful shot. I took 3 shots like this. I did not put my camera like this. I changed it just in landscape, 3 shots in landscape mode. And also what I do is I make sure I go 100% and make sure that my photos are sharp. The last one, the second one, and the first one. Okay, perfect. They are very sharp. Okay, now let's go to the computer and do some little retouching and magic with it. All right, guys. So I'm back in my room and I've selected these 3 photos and I want to make a huge panel with it, like 10 feet long and with a very, a lot of sharpness. So I showed you that when I shot the photos, I was on a tripod. I used a timer of 2 seconds so that I had no shock with the camera whatsoever when the photo was taken. If you press the I key on Lightroom, here I am on Lightroom, the I key you can see, so it's a 3.2 second at 7.1 photo, 35 millimeter on the 2470. So it's a big file. It's 5,616 pixel by 344. Now each of the 3 photos, that's the first photo, that's the second photo, and that's the third photo. Each of these photos has the exact same settings. I shot manual, so each of them is 3.2 second at 7.1. Unfortunately, we didn't have nice clouds here in Jerusalem, but when you make huge panos, it always impresses people. Try to make a pano 10 feet long, which is exactly what I'm going to show you now, and you will see the emotion you get from people. It's huge. Okay, I'm going to press the I key to take this off, and let's get cooking, ladies and gentlemen. So you know my formula. I'm going to open up the shadows, and I'm going to turn down the highlights. Then I'm going to press the Option key or Alt on Windows, and I'm going to go right until I see some city lights, something like that. Perfect. And then I'm going to go into the blacks, and I'm going to go on the left. All right. Now that's kind of nice. It's still a bit too strong for me. The highlights is still too strong, so I'm going to back down the highlights. Yeah, something like that. I think I went a bit too far on the highlights. Okay. Now this drags me a lot of attention, so I'm going to see if I can take this one off. I'm going to make the whole photo a bit more dark. I want a dark feeling. And I think the whole photo is a bit too much yellow, but first check the sharpness of the photo. Sharpness is pretty good. There's a bit of noise. It's a bit soft, but that's how sharp you can get. I don't think you can get sharper than that. The rest has to be done in post-processing. So I'm going to add some clarity to give it an even more punch, and I'm going to go and use this ND filter here. So I'm going to put a filter on the top, and I'm going to add some blue. I want to have a contrast between the blue of the sky and the rest of the city, so I'm going to go blue and I think I'm going to lower the exposure. So this is happening only on a gradient. You know that, right? If you follow my podcast. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now, let me see. Okay, we have some spots here due to the sensor that's dusty, so we're gonna take care of that. So I'm gonna open this. Yeah, make sure this is a bit smaller. And I'm just gonna click here. I see one spot here. Now spots is very important to take out spot when you make big prints, because believe me, on big prints the only thing you see is a spot, at least you as a photographer, maybe not the rest of the world. That's what I can see now. That's why this new option in Lightroom 5 is beautiful. I'm using Lightroom 4 right now, but Lightroom 5 has this new option where you can really see the spot. I really love that option. Okay, white balance. I think the overall is a bit too yellow, so I'm gonna go on daylight. Daylight is pretty cool. See what's gonna happen on daylight. Yeah, it's making it a bit more blue. I kind of like that. Okay, now this light is dragging my eyes. My eyes goes to this light, so I'm gonna take a brush and I'm gonna lower the highlights, and I'm gonna brush. I'm gonna make this smaller. I don't have my wheel mouse, I'm using a pad, so, and I'm gonna brush over here. Okay, maybe lower the exposure, not so much. Yeah, I just want a bit less attention on it. Let's see how it is before the brush, after the brush. Yeah, it's a bit less attractive. Okay, on the other hand, I'm gonna click a new brush, and I'm gonna make a little brush. This time I'm gonna double click to bring back the highlights where they were, and the exposure, and maybe take the here, which is a bit dark, and just to reveal here anything which is a bit dark, kind of like that. Okay, that is perfect. Okay, so I'm kind of satisfied with what I did with the first photo. I'm gonna click on done. So now I'm gonna click on, I have all three photos selected. Remember, they were taken manual with the exact same setting, so I'm gonna click on sync, and I'm going to make sure that the graded filter, I want it to be synchronized, but not the brush, because the brush was just for this this spot. Now the spot removal, make sure it's on, because if you've got one spot on one photo, you will have on the two other ones. So that's good to sync. So I'm going to synchronize everything except the brush, I think. And let's go. Let's do it. And now this one must be good. So I just have to make my brush adjustments again. So okay, I'm gonna get the brush like this and like this, so minus exposure, a bit minus highlight. I'm gonna paint over this one. I think it's dragging too much attention. I'm gonna lower the exposure a little bit. Yeah, and just something like that. Okay, I'm gonna make a new brush, go the other way around, make exposure, and I'm gonna bring some more details in the shadows here. I don't like when you have big parts which are in the shadows on the photo. I like when you can see everything. You know why? Because the eyes can see everything, but not the camera, so you have to help him with Lightroom 4. It's crazy, isn't it? Okay, maybe a bit too much. I'm going to lower down a little bit. Okay, so that's cool. So I can go to the next photo, the last one, and this one I'm just going to take the brush. Okay, I have the same brush in before, and I'm just going to, same thing, I'm going to make this a bit more visible. I want to get more details here in this part of the city. Okay, and the whole idea is to get a huge panel that's going to be very sharp, and people are just going to walk into your office and going to say, my God, how much? That's the only thing you want them to say. My God, how much? Okay, so now that we've done that, there's one thing that I forgot, because I'm a bad boy. So I'm going to go back on number one. And on number one, I forgot two things, which is very important if we want to get in this sharp workflow thing. First is enable profile correction. That's going to take out any vignetting going on, which is not much, because I shot 24-70. 24-70 is a good lens, so not much vignetting. I always go for the on colors. I'll always go for the remove chromatic aberration in case there is some, especially on night photos. But very important, the sharpening. Let's zoom in on the photo and see how it is. You see, it's quite noisy. First thing I'm going to do when there is quite some noise like this is I'm going to go around, I would say about 35 on the luminance noise. Now the luminance noise is the grain, okay? And that really softened the photo. We want to go for a pretty dramatic, sharp photo. But that's all right. 34 luminance, and the color, I think I'm gonna go the whole way to 70, because the color noise is, I don't know if you can see on the video, it's little blue spots, red spots that you can hardly tell. Now the sharpening, when there is a lot of noise, I usually go to 70, not 90, yeah, about 70 on the sharpening in Lightroom. Okay, that's the basic sharpening. So because sharpening is going to bring back the noise. Now to make sure it doesn't bring so much noise, you press the Option key and you go on the masking. Now the masking, when it's white, the sharpening of 70 is being applied everywhere. And when I move to the right, anything that is black is not going to get sharpening. So I want to make sure that any flat surface does not get sharpening. Something like that. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, so we've got a basic sharpening here. The photo is going to be very sharp as you print it, but that's more also in Photoshop. Okay, overall I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe I'm going to lower down the exposure. I really want to get a night feeling to this photo. Something like that. And yeah, that's the basic idea. Then I'm going to click on Sync. Everything is still marked except the brush and synchronize, and that's going to add what we just did, the lens correction, the sharpening, and the details on all three photos. Okay, I just make sure that I just look real fast all three photos. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm going to right click onto the three photos here, right click, I'm going to edit and merge to panorama in Photoshop. Okay, and that's going to take maybe a minute or two. So okay, at first I get the photo merge screen. I just go on auto, make sure that vignette removal and geometric distortion correction is not on. I'm going to do that later on with a new filter that I love, the wide angle filter. And I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to put on pause because that's going to take a little bit of time to merge. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. Now look, the way it was done is not very nice, so I'm going to go fit screen, and I'm just going to open my layers, which are here. Okay, I'm going to go to layers and flatten image. That's the first thing that I do. Okay, now I'm going to lower the resolution of this photo, and you should not do that. I do it for the purpose of this podcast, because you see, I've got a 14,000 word lens photo, and that's going to make a huge, nice print. But I'm going to get it down to 5,000 pixels so that everything goes faster from now on. It's just a little trick. Okay, then I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to go into Filter, Adaptive Wide Angle. Now, adaptive wide angle, what it's going to do is I'm going to scale it just a little bit. I did nothing. It already detected that this was a 24-70 lens, and it corrected everything. On this one, I have nothing to do. I just click OK, and now everything is straight. It's not stretched like before. Check it out. Before, after. Okay, I'm going to turn off the basic layer. I'm going to take my crop tool, and I'm going to crop the photo so that we only have information on what we need. Now this looks very small to you, but believe me, this could be over 10,000 pixels large, very sharp. Let's move in, let's go to 100%, okay, and let's go to fit screen. Okay, look at 100%, look how sharp it is here. And fit screen, I think it's a pretty nice photo. Okay, it looks a bit blurry here because that's just my monitor that's like that, but it's pretty nice. So the one thing that I do before I go into printing to make sure that it's very sharp, I open up this. Okay, I'm gonna merge these two by going again layer, merge layer. I'm gonna duplicate the layer, and then I'm gonna go into filter, sharpen, on sharp mask. And the trick to get an incredible sharp photo when you print a large one is to over sharpen it. I usually go one radius and 110 to 130 on the amount, threshold at 0. That's going to over sharpen it. It's going to look too sharp. Now if I go 100%, check it out. That's the before. See, it's soft, and now it's very sharp. Now it needs to be over sharped on your screen. It needs to look too sharp, because when you're going to print it and send it to a lab, it's going to go soft again. And so over sharpening it will make you a print of a quality you won't believe. That's a little secret that I found years ago. And you can go ahead and make a 10-foot print of this photo of Jerusalem by night, and you hang it on your wall, and people will come in and say, wow, how much? That's the whole trick. Okay, so that's my workflow on making huge, big panoramas. Now, before I leave you guys, I want to show you something. I made a new package here. If you go on my website, photosearch.com, and you go to English tutorials, you will find out that I have more training on Lightroom and Photoshop, mainly Lightroom and Photoshop training, but I added a package called the Amazing Landscape Pack 1. When you click here on the More Info, you come to this page, and on this page you can see basically what you're buying is 10 raw files, which are some of my best photos ever taken. And you can see all the before and after here as I show on the screen. And all the raw files are DNG files which are already finished and retouched. But you can just create a virtual copy on your Lightroom, reset it, and try to retouch it to your taste. Then you come to having a huge big file. You can do your own prints. You can use it for your own personal stuff. You can even buy a professional license if you want. You've got two licenses, a personal license and a pro license, so you can check that out. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Okay guys, so I hope you liked that tutorial. It's really fun being here, and as usual, if you like this podcast, please like it and share it on your social network. It helps me grow. I thank you very much for all your help, and I'll see you back in Paris next week.